This week on Erotic Awakening, Eros Gathering, Dawn and Dawn, and Ultimate Quarantine.
Welcome to Erotic Awakening, an exploration of all things erotic. If you are offended by adult topics or prohibited by law, we recommend you stop listening right now. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dawn. We have a little bit more junk to say, though.
Oh, do we now?
The Erotic Awakening podcast, as well as workshops by Dan and Dawn, are offered free of charge to our community.
Because I usually...
Good thing we're not doing this live.
Right. Because of the expenses involved, we're grateful to those that support us through Patreon and donations, including Mike S. and Aaliyah, who just joined us recently.
Well, thank you very much for joining as Patreon people.
Exactly.
And hello to Mike and Tammy, who are watching us live on the old
great.
thingamajig there.
We got that all set up so I can actually see it now.
We shall see how well this works. Today on the podcast, we are going to talk about Eros Gathering, Dawn, as well as a couple of other things, but we're going to start with that. Dawn, back in 2012, you created a group on FetLife called Eros Gathering. You created a real-time group to support that. What the heck is Eros Gathering?
Well, basically, it is a group on just learning about sacred sexuality.
Okay.
So you and I do a lot of work in the sacred sexuality realm. We used to do a lot more than what we do now. We it's just what we do. So I wanted a local group, so where we could do it right here in Columbus and actually learn from other people.
Okay. So what is sacred sexuality?
Oh, no. That's the first workshop.
Hey, Peachy!
That's the first workshop, so I will explain what sacred sexuality is. But many of us use it as a way of interaction with other people. Mm-hmm. So it is, some of us call it energy work. Some of us call it, it's actually our path of spirituality. So this is how, for me, not to get too woo, but it is how I connect with other people and how I connect with the divine.
Yeah.
Whatever you call the divine. Some people call it Tantra.
Some people do call it Tantra, and we'll talk about Tantra and my challenges with Tantra.
Exactly.
But, my viewpoint is that a lot of harm can happen as a result of improper sexuality.
True.
So something like Eros Gathering is an opportunity for a positive aspect of sexuality and a positive healing aspect of sexuality.
Absolutely. So, and that is something that we talk a lot about. So do you want to hear some of the topics that we've talked about before?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I actually, like I said, we started this back in 2012, and it was kind of neat because I actually started the group right before we opened up the room.
Okay.
So I got looking back on the history of it, and we started meeting in the back of a leather shop here in Columbus, and the room was too small. So I had been looking for a place for us to have workshops for like 3 years, and it was right after that. I had the place right after the first meeting that we had. So we then had the room, and it was fantastic, and it was fabulous. Eros Gathering was actually one of the first groups to meet there. So some of the things that we did, right? So the first meeting we did, what is sacred sexuality, which is what you just asked me.
I see.
Which is why I said that was the
right.
first thing we'd talk about with the group. The second thing that we taught was psychic hygiene, because I believe anybody that is working with energy should know how to ground, shield, filter, cleanse, all that type of stuff when it comes to energy and emotions. Mm-hmm. So just a good basic foundation. And then, do you remember that you had a men's only meeting?
Yeah, and the logic of that is it goes back to way even prior to you and I hooking up. Mm-hmm. Men don't talk about sex in a healthy, normal sort of fashion. So what we talk about is who we're screwing and how often we're screwing, but not reflections of some of the challenges around sexuality and being a good sexual partner to people. It's just not something that commonly we discuss. So I said, let's bring guys together, be vulnerable, and allow ourselves to be able to talk and say, hey, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sexuality.
So, and that was a great idea. You had a good turnout. I remember that. I've got my women's group now, my older women's group now, so we talk about stuff like that. But we could still have something that we do with Eros Gathering, so that's specifically to talk about women and sexuality, right? We could have a little spin-off. So we have also talked about, we do this workshop called Sacred Sexuality Rites for Two. And we teach people how to do sex magic, basically, which is also another topic. So, sexual energy in our play.
So, in the creation of Eros Gathering, right? And
yes.
Are you prescribing to, this is a group for pagans, or this is a group for Tantra believers, or this is a group for people that have a particular spiritual path already?
No, it's going to be much more generic than that. So, and I'm actually hoping that people bring questions and come to it with a lot of questions so that we know how to gear it later. It doesn't have to be what Dawn does or what Dan and Dawn does. We don't have to teach it like it's a path or something, but very much more generic, some foundation stuff. But
so would you have, and I noticed that in one of the things you have a note here, fucking with energy with Belle.
That was Belle. You know which Belle I mean, right?
Not my Belle.
Nope. This is Belle. It's been around forever. That.
I do know which one you're. Yes, absolutely. Right.
The women's. Oh shoot! I can picture it again. What's the fire thing? With the smoke and the steam and in the mud.
Somebody on YouTube who's watching us live. What do you call those things? It's an Native American Sweat Lodge.
Sweat Lodge, thank you. Steam, mud, fire, sweat.
Right.
Okay, so the sweat lodges. Belle is one of the people in our area that runs sweat lodges.
Okay.
So, yeah, and she did an amazing. I was actually, instead of teaching at that one, I got to participate. And we all sat, so this was in person, and we all sat, and I was in like a daisy chain. So we were all front to back, front to back, front to back, and all of us were naked. And we shot energy from chest to chest to chest to chest, and then groin to groin to groin to groin. That was pretty amazing.
Very
It's
cool.
like a major, it's called a microcosmic orbit, but there was about 14 of us, so it wasn't so micro. It was pretty awesome. So, but we learned how to ramp up that energy.
Cool.
And then she would talk about how to do it with fucking.
So what's your actual step? What is happening for the Eros Gathering? What's going to happen next?
So,
and why bring it back now? You had it since 2012. It lasted for a couple of years, and then we went on to other things.
True. Well, that's the way it happens, right? We always go on to other things. So when did we start? So we were only a couple of years into this podcast. We hadn't started PXS or BTL. We were still doing the room. We hadn't even thought about the space yet. We had one book out. So projects just came up. I was graduating with my bachelor's in psychology. A lot of things came up. But looking back on this stuff, I was looking at some of the people that came to the first meeting and their replies to how much they got out of it. That's where I met Mr. Malaprop.
Yeah, you mentioned, you were telling me that earlier.
Yeah, so that was really cool to look back on the history of that. So that was awesome. So why bring it back now? I think because sacred sexuality is such a part of me, and being in quarantine, it's really hard because I can't touch people. And I brought up that we needed to do more scarlet sanctuaries. And how did you get the sun in your room?
Stay focused. Stay focused. One of the tricks to live podcasting is people are making comments. Yes, go on.
Comments. So, now I forget. So we're in quarantine, and I brought up that we needed to do some more scarlet sanctuaries, which is Dan and I also used to, we created this thing called Path of the Kadishti, which was to teach people about sacred sexuality, which was to teach about sacred touch. And Scarlet Sanctuary is our space of sacred touch. And I was telling people that after this pandemic, we are going to have to schedule and figure out how to hold some Scarlet Sanctuaries, because people are going to be craving touch so much.
If you're related to the local, or if you're the scene in your area, right? If you go to any of the play parties and stuff, you've seen that 100 people show up and they're hugging and they're exchanging pleasantries and they're just doing, just touching each other. Not just on the kink side, right? Not just people playing together, just the general sharing of energy, the cuddle piles, right? Just being able to sit next to somebody this close without panicking. There's going to be this. The dam is going to break, that people are going to want that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So we're going to need to do that again, and so everybody's missing that. And I think that bringing this group back would start a foundation, because some of us are going to forget how to do that, or some of us are going to be so hungry for it that we're not going to be safe.
And some of us are going to have these walls that we've built up.
Absolutely.
From the anxiety of being touched. I went to the doctor's office a couple days ago, and of course they're wearing all this stuff. And she came over to take my blood pressure, and she's touching me, and she's in my space. I was like, oh no!
Right. So I had the same experience. So we might have been at the same doctor, but so I just think it's needed, and I think if we start building a foundation now, that when parties start again and we open up and we're able to do a Scarlet Sanctuary, even us givers that are used to giving for a couple of hours at a kink event at a Scarlet Sanctuary, one of the AIS events is where we would have them at. Even we're going to be tapped out after 15, 20 minutes. So if we start working with our energy now, maybe we can start getting prepared for when the pandemic opens, when it's done. So I think the way to get started is to do the whole, what is sacred sexuality? Maybe another one on what is sacred touch. And then I'm also thinking of doing a book club. Yeah. Because there's so many good books out there on sacred sexuality. There's so many out there that it can become overwhelming. But I've got a few favorite authors, people we know, people we've actually worked with in a sacred sexuality manner, or just an energetic or ritual manner. So like Lee Harrington and Patricia and Michael and Barb Corellis, and so I love their books, and I think that would be a good way to start. And it's a good way to get Zoom interaction, right? So
the book club wise.
The book club wise.
Yeah, so that way you can bounce it out between, because it feels like Eros Gathering can't really happen until we're back in.
Right. So it's I got to figure out a way so that we don't have to wait for the pandemic to end, because you're right. It is much better when it's touching and actually feeling people's energy. Right. And we've taught
even that intimacy of being able to share things is different when you're in at least for me, when you're in a room with somebody versus just virtually.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and it really is. And I may have to, and I've talked about this for so many years, and we started the group Path of the Kadishti, and maybe that'll go hand in hand with this, is to start the Path of the Kadishti again and do it online. Because when, trying to think of their FET names, Lady Lynn.
And Phoenix
Spirit. When they took over Path of the Kadishti for us, because people come from so many states, they actually do a lot of it online and on phone. So I probably could turn that into Zoom, and it will. It'll go kind of hand in hand with what we're talking about here too.
Well, looking forward to seeing more about that. How would people that are watching or that want to be involved, how do they find out about it?
Oh, there's a couple of ways. So if you have questions, you can always ask me at Dan and Dawn at eroticawakening.com, or there's an Eros Gathering group on FET. So that would be an awesome place to start conversation, because you might have the same questions as somebody else. And if we start talking about it on the FET group, then I can answer everybody at the same time. So I'm looking forward to it, actually. I like the idea of this.
Ginger, what are you eating?
Oh, it's hard to tell. She's like, why are you looking at me?
It's one of the problems with the live podcasting is Ginger the Polypup's down there eating something, and I can't pause and stop her. So feel free, Ginger. Just go ahead and eat that, whatever that is.
I can't tell.
So recently we heard from, so again, if you're interested, the Eros Gathering FetLife group is probably the way to go.
Best place to start.
Or reach out to us, or just listen to the podcast. We'll probably tell you all about it.
I'm also Dan's Arani on FetLife. So if you have questions, you can ask me there too. And I can actually throw them anonymously onto the Fet group. Yep. So that would be pretty neat.
And we agree with you, Tammy. We love that kinky energy as well.
Absolutely. So missing it.
As far as, so here we are, we're live podcasting so people can watch us and they see us and they have questions for us. One of the questions that threw Dawn for a loop earlier, someone's asked, how did you get the sun in your room? It's via my magical powers. Watch this. Alexa, office lights off. Alexa, office light on. Ooh, there you go. Actually, thank you, Patreon subscribers. I took your hard-earned dollars and just bought some more lights for the podcast. I feel like it's kind of dark in here, and I'd like things to be a little more brightened up.
Yeah, and we figured out that the webcams and our cameras work so much better when there's a lot more light.
Yeah.
So
hopefully that'll help out. What else we got going on? So recently I got an email from a Fet mail from somebody who says they're enjoying the podcast. Thanks for the great podcast. You guys rock. But the funny thing is that they are Dawn and Dawn. D-O-N and Dawn.
Dawn and Dawn.
Yes. So I'm thinking we run into them at an event someday and everybody's all confused as they're asking.
Or Dawn and Dawn or Dan and Dawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope so as well.
I always forget so many people are named Dawn. And I know I have I've had 3 different last names over my life, and all of my last names are very common, but I keep forgetting there's more Dawns. But I'll go like to the doctor's office or to pick up a prescription, and they're like, what's your birthday? We have a couple of you here. And it's like, really? In this little area? How can you have that many? But
I went to the doctor not too long ago.
Yes.
Actually, this is quite a long time ago, and I checked in, and they said, oh, you're Dan this. Mm-hmm. Have you lost 200 pounds? And I said, no. And they said, okay, wrong one. Wait, you're not 70. I said, no. And they said, oh, different one. I get it. I have kind of a common name as well.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people. The biggest problem with this whole story is this is the doctor that was going to do the vasectomy.
Vasectomy. I remember that story.
Yeah. So I needed some confidence with this guy, and I just didn't have it there.
Well, at least he was asking about your body size, trying to figure out who you are.
Versus, I see. If you hate Kik, the internet application, then you should blame Tammy. Because Tammy suggested that we get a Kik group. Actually, Tammy recommended this, I think, probably about a year and a half ago. And I finally got around to doing that.
We've got 2 people with the last name of Smith.
Oh, good point.
You just don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's awesome. So, yeah. So, did you finish the Kik thing?
Yes.
We're at Dan and Dawn.
Yes. If you have Kik, which is the K-I-K, it is an internet application of some sort that used for messaging, he says, with his great knowledge of internet things. You can search for hashtag Dan and Dawn and find the Erotic Awakening podcast and Erotic Awakening and all things Dan and Dawn Kik group out there. It allows us to chat and have real-time conversations.
Nice. And someone has already put something on it, and I replied.
Awesome.
Ooh, I figured it out, kind of, sort of.
Well done.
We'll see how that goes.
What else going on, Dawn? Anything? Is that it? Is that the show?
No. So we have a few more things. So Dan and I sat together last night, and we know we want to do the live podcast, right? So that's because someone on Patreon put us over the limit. We said if we reached a certain number that we would start doing live podcasts. So we reached that number. So now we're going to do live podcast once a month. And we also want to do some workshops every now and then. Plus, we've got our Patreon supporters that we do our chats with. Mm-hmm. So we sat down last night, and we actually scheduled out the next 3 for each of those. So we've got our next 3 chats scheduled, and I'll get those out to, I'm going to be putting a newsletter out and sending those out to our Patreon people. The dates and the topics. We have topics this time. So the live podcast does not. The workshops do. And the Patreon chats do. So, yes. So, we
so
will.
3 months of workshops, 3 months of chats, 3 months of stuff all scheduled out there.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll send that out by newsletter so you guys can see the dates for everything. And then the Patreon chats will also go out to the Patreon supporters. And I'll make FET events. So, it'll all be out there. And I learned how to do a new thing with the Instagram and stuff last night. So, there should be more info out there.
For those watching, here's what happened. Here's where we were, right? And let me make sure to there we go, get the video going. Here's where we were because we're running the space. Oh, we're so busy all the time. And then the space goes away. Let's relax no, let's make all these new groups like Eros Gathering and do all this.
That's the way we do things.
Yes, that is so the way we do things.
I just had lunch with Ohio Hedgehog.
Yes.
Which is one of our listeners. And I just had lunch with him. We did the whole restaurant thing, mask up till you get to your table sort of thing. And he was like, so I bet you're bored right now. And I'm like, oh, no. I told the project gods that things were slowing down. So, boom, all these ideas started coming in. So not only that, we've got this huge whiteboard in my new office, which is the guest room. And we've got like our next 12 projects planned out with deadlines.
Yep.
So we don't know how to sit still.
No.
We like to do things, I guess.
I agree with Peachy. I don't know if Peachy's being sardonic or not, but
yay,
schedules. Yay.
I like schedules. I like lists.
You are a very, as Tammy mentioned there, you are very organized.
I try.
For those who are listening in the future, I don't know how weird it is. I'd love to hear this feedback because it's we're saying, oh, hey, Peachy made this comment, and Mike made this comment, and hey, Lisa, how are you today? That we get to do because it's the live version of the podcast. I don't know if you're just a listener a week later, like how weird that is.
I don't know. So I was going to say, I guess we'll find out, but we won't because I won't be listening to it. I'll be making a new one.
Right. Well, I'm the new one. I just watched the movie Looper last night.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic time travel, sci-fi sort of thing. But it's got me the whole time travel-y live podcast, listening into the future, but then it's the past, blah, 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 blah.
So I did want to mention one thing. So I said that we were doing workshops and podcasts and stuff like that. I actually have the topics for the next few. So I'm only going to tell you the first one. So let's see. The monthly workshop is December 6th, and it's managing multiple power exchange relationships.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So Dan's got experience with that, and I have experience as an alpha. So we will see how that goes. And then, and we'll mention it again, the next Patreon chat, you have to be a Patreon supporter to do that, is December 13th. And it's going to be Let's Chat About Slutty Sex.
Oh, yeah.
So that one will be fun. All right. Kink starter cards.
Oh, are we doing that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready to see if you like what I draw for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Am I just drawing one card?
Absolutely.
Remember, this is my personal deck. I have a special card in here.
I am not. I know how to respond to your tentacle rape card. I understand it.
All right. Do you want to just pick one?
Yeah.
We're talking woo, so you get to pick your own.
I'm just going to take this one off the top.
That's no fun. Go ahead.
Dawn.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not.
Is it for me?
Yeah, I'm asking you about it.
I guess it is
yes.
for me. Okay.
How do you feel about strap-ons?
Strap-ons. Oh, make it bigger.
Yeah. Are you talking about the video or the card?
Okay.
Yep. Strap-ons.
Strap-ons. I've never used one, even though I own one.
You never, as a driver?
I've never used one as a driver.
Okay.
I own one because I was dating someone at the time that expressed an interest, but that was a long time ago, and it's still a virgin. So that's okay. I have had a strap-on used on me once. Okay. I've only once. And except for the one that you used to strap to your thigh.
Yes.
That one was fun.
That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. So strap-ons, yes. As in willing to do it again.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay? So not...
I had a strap-on that was hollow that I put my Johnson into.
I remember that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the point of that was.
I don't remember either, but I remember who bought it for us.
It wasn't great.
No, that was the first couple that we dated.
I know who you're talking about.
That was the girl couple.
Oh, yeah.
That we dated. What?
It strikes me as humorous that the girl couple thought that I would need a strap-on to have the intercourse.
Well, that's who bought it for us.
All right.
Okay. Oh, wait. No, I'm going to pick one to ask you.
Yes.
Okay. I like red. I like the scenes. Okay. All right. I picked a red card, and it says, well, that one's no fun. Bondage. I guess
sure.
It could be fun. Okay. Yeah, sure.
As a giver, I have received.
I have tied you up before.
You've tied me up?
But it was for ritual, not
that
BDSM.
was yeah.
Yeah.
I have received. I don't remember if I was tied up or handcuffed and blindfolded while Dawn had sex with somebody else.
Oh yeah.
Right. That was kind of a neat scene.
Right, because it was the whole sensory deprivation for you, so that all you could do was hear what we were doing.
Right.
So the only sense you had was listening.
It was fun.
You got to sit there and do nothing. Oh, wait, I got one more for you.
Why do I get two?
Because one was just a boring. Well, bondage isn't boring, but it's not
extreme
or something.
So the kind of bondage I like is I have a pair of Velcro braced handcuffs.
Restraints.
Which the next card you pulled was handcuffs, right?
Restraints and handcuffs.
I have the cuffs that have hooks on them. So I'm no good with doing the rope thing, but that's the kind of thing that I dig.
Well, you also do mental bondage. So
yes.
If I was going to talk about bondage at all, bondage is okay for me, except that I have a fear of falling or a fear of someone else having a heart attack and leaving me stuck in bondage. There's a movie about that too. Mm-hmm. But I like the Velcro ones, but I also like the mental bondage where you put me in a position and tell me to stand there and I'm not allowed to move. So
yeah.
That again, my kink is power exchange and being dominated. So for someone to tell me to stay put, hot and juicy, I like it.
And per request on the live stream here.
Okay.
And we will go back to mental bondage and explain that a little bit more in a moment. But Tammy, per your request. This is the one that I'm going to pull for you. And I think what I'm understanding there is what you're saying is, Dan, pull a card of things, and this is what you're going to do to me the next time I see you.
Are you going to do a whole scene or just a one thing?
Just the one thing.
Okay.
So, Tammy, the next time I see you, we are going to... We're not allowed to do this. It's Dawn's tentacle rape card. Unfortunately, that was...
Mine.
That's Dawn's thing. But she has had some great tentacle
I've had some
scenes.
Great tentacle
Now,
scenes.
we were talking about mental bondage a little bit. Now, what I mean by that is I'll be doing a scene with Dawn, and I'll just hold her hands over her head like so, and I'll act like I'm putting them in some kind of a bondage thing, right? Obviously, I'm not. And I will just hold, and I'll say, keep them right there. Mm-hmm. And then I'll start doing things to her, right? And is that your phone?
No. Is it?
Yes, your phone's there.
It is, sorry. Phone.
BDSM is so expensive, right? So to have Dawn, and then I'll just tell her to leave her hands like that, right? And then I'll be doing things. And Dawn naturally, you can drop your hands.
Okay.
Dawn naturally, I punch her in the tit a lot, because when I come up, if I'm walking towards her, right, she's like, huh, and so it is her natural thing to do that, right? So this idea of, if I tie her up, right, then she's going to keep her hands up there. But I'll on the cross or something like that, I'll say I want this arm here and this arm here, and I'll just lock it in and say that's where this goes.
So that I don't know that would work for those that have bratty energy, but for me, my thing is power exchange and submission. And I guess it would with bratty energy. It depends how much energy you want to put into it to keep them in place and to constantly put their hands back up. But for me, it really, it's hot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I totally agree. It is a great way to express power exchange within your kink scene.
Mm-hmm. And You would be surprised how hard it can be. I mean, we've been doing this we've been together for, wow, we have a wedding anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks.
Do we?
We do. So it's almost Thanksgiving, and ours is right after that. But anyway, a lot of years.
A lot of years. Huh.
So
You don't know, do you? Is it 19, 20, 21?
19 married.
Okay.
It'll be
All
20
right.
collared in March.
All right.
So, so with the whole mental thing, but like if we're wrestling or something and you say stay still, that's hard because you're near my ribs.
Mm-hmm.
You're in places where my knee automatically wants to protect myself or my elbow. So it takes a lot of concentration to not fight back and not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're gonna have to play tonight.
This is foreplay here at the podcast. Other than that,
Well, I got some food on boobs. I didn't. I got tentacles.
yeah, I was going to say.
You didn't get no food
I did
on
not get
boobs?
any food on
Oh,
boobs.
I'm sorry. So we got John, who just sent me some cartoon pics. So the hentai with the stuff.
Very cool. Is that the same John that is on the live stream now?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
John, what's up?
Oh, Johnny Jackhammer asked for our address. Wonder if I'm getting another comic book.
Or they're going to stop by.
They can't. We're in. I told him we were in quarantine.
Good point. And so let's mention that real quickly. I don't know what you guys are doing for the Thanksgiving holiday. For those of you that live here in the Americas, it's one of the gouge yourself on food days, surrounded by economic stupidity days, something called Black Friday, Cyber Monday, blah, blah, blah. That's besides the point.
Soapbox.
Yes. So Dawn and I want to go hang out with our friends Kevin and Katie for Thanksgiving holiday. For those that are in nearly any state here in the United States, COVID things are going through the roof. So we are currently in a 10-day quarantine, super quarantine, so that when we get there, we can actually take our masks off and hang out with them. And they're in quarantine as well. So it's not the normal quarantine that we do where it's like, well, we're in quarantine, but we'll order food.
Let's do DoorDash.
Let's do
this
DoorDash.
thing.
DoorDash is so slow. I'm just going to zip by the Chinese restaurant, but I'll go through drive-through because I'm in quarantine.
Right.
Got to stop by McDonald's or the grocery store on the way back or something. Now we're doing the hardcore quarantine.
Oh, so we need to go back to the hardcore. So all that stuff I just ordered from Amazon has to wait in the garage.
Fine by me.
Order anything you need.
Things I order may not wait in the garage. I don't know.
Well, now I got to scrub them down.
New subscribers to the newsletter include Peach.
Oh, but it's not the Peach that we're talking with here either.
Nope.
So, and Doug.
Head over to theeroticawakening.com and get your EA shout out. Hear your name on the podcast, as well as get podcast and Dan and Dawn updates. You know what? When I rewrote this, I should have reread it as well because it does not flow.
It doesn't flow.
What it should say is if you head over to eroticawakening.com and scroll down, you'll see get your shout outs. Put your name and email address in there, get your shout outs, and you can keep up with the occasional newsletter.
Absolutely. So I also wanted to mention Instagram. So Dan and I are on Instagram, and we try to remember to put pictures out there. And usually it's of us on the motorcycle. It's of the dog. We should have taken a picture of whatever Ginger was eating and things like that. But I also just posted a picture of a Leather Pride Afghan I have been working on since the first PXS. I don't even remember what year the first PXS was. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, so could be longer than that. Anyway, I've been working on it since then because I had planned on putting it in an auction at PXS. So any of you guys that know that does crafty stuff, you know that sometimes you pick it up, you work on it for weeks, and then you put it away and you forget you have it, and then months later you pick it up again. That's kind of the schedule this ran, except it's now the size of a king bed. So I put the picture out there on Facebook, and I think I've already sold it. Someone wants it for Christmas for their partner.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So
for those of you that do crafty stuff, please, Dawn's a 9-year-old. For those of you that do the crafty stuff, please reach out to Dawn so that when she speaks her archaic language that I don't understand, you'll know what, like she said earlier, I'm going to go block the Afghan
Yeah, I had to go block my granny square Afghan.
I had to go block my granny squares. I don't know what that means. I thought I was getting brownies. That's what I translated that to. I did not get brownies from that.
That does not work.
Oh, I want a brownie now.
I got brownie mix up there. Too late. It's after 6.
Do
So we're also doing this thing called intermittent fasting. We were going to schedule this podcast at 5. And I looked at Dan, and I'm like, man, that's eating time.
That is our last
We're allowed
hour
to
of
eat
eating.
till 6. All this stuff's going to happen at 6.
Take a moment to support the podcast. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Or just tell your friends.
If you like what we're doing, be like Tammy and Mike and Peachy and many, many other people. Head over to patreon.com at Erotic Awakening and take a look at the options like discounted stuff, extra content, and more.
So, like I said before, our next Zoom meeting, our chat will be on December 13th, and the topic is Let's Chat About Slutty Sex. Info will be going out to our Patreon supporters.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today that are joining us on the live stream. Let us know what you think about it if you want us to keep doing it. We're having a good time. Anyway.
We are having a great time. So awesome.
Bye, Dawn.
Bye, Dan. Bye, everybody.